If you were a thief, would you go in the front door or the back door if you wanted to rob a house? The back door, obviously. You would want to be as stealthy as possible. So if you were a globalist and wanted centralized control of governments and people, you'd go in the back door because no one in their right mind would just up and surrender their nation's national sovereignty without struggle, right? You're probably aware of something known as the World Health Organization Pandemic Preparedness Treaty, right? A plan that would give the WHO the authority over things like lockdowns, medicines, preventions, even the media. That, my friend, is the front door. Most people in Western democracies are aware of this treaty. Back in May of last year, 2023, it came up for a vote at the World Health Assembly, but was overruled by 47 nations. But there is a backdoor to their plans, and today we're talking about how the globalists are planning to use that backdoor to achieve the same goal. This is Bible teacher Nelson Walters, and you tell us you follow this channel because you get information here you just can't get elsewhere like this. But sometimes we're unable to present everything we want to share with you because we're simply not allowed. So we have a special announcement at the end of this video on where you'll be able to get all the information that we want to share with you. So keep watching. The globalists have devised a plan. In 1 month, they hope everything about your individual freedom will change. And Western so-called democracies appear to be going right along with the plans. And the news agencies are eerily silent. Now, many of you live in these Western democracies and are used to the idea of calling your congressman or your member of parliament to express your viewpoint. And many of you probably think this will make a difference in whether or not this WHO plan is adopted by your nation. Think, oh, certainly my congressperson will stop this. Well, I believe you're setting yourself up for a sad realization in a month or so. If you're a citizen of the USA, it is members of the administration of your president who helped draft these plans. And second, remember how your congresspeople or members of parliament in your nation acted when the last pandemic occurred? In complete lockstep with the central plans that were issued. The nations of the world locked down without a peep from elected officials, no matter what party or affiliation they had. Just like lemmings walking off a cliff together, they walked in lockstep. And this was worldwide. Why was that? Well, perhaps there is a power greater than your president or prime minister, a power that controls the money that controls them. And this power behind the thrones has planned this move for decades and will not let it be overridden. The Bible calls this power Mystery Babylon. The woman who you saw is the great city which reigns over the kings of the earth. Revelation 17:18. And this power is about to become visible. How does this power take over? We learn that in Revelation 18:23. Your merchants were the great men of the earth because all the nations were deceived by your sorcery. And the Greek word here is not sorcery, it actually is something called pharmakeia. So this passage is telling us that the businessmen or merchants of the world are about to become the great ones or leaders of the world. They're going to be in control over the kings and politicians. And they're going to do it by deceiving the people of all the nations with something called pharmakeia, which is translated as sorcery by the NASB. But that's an old translation. It more properly means medicine or drugs or possibly the demonic use of these things. Back when the NASB was originally translated, people just didn't have a sense that medicine or drugs could take over the world or be used to take over the world. But now it seems to be coming true. So, pharmakeia means medicine or drugs and possibly could even mean healthcare. Now, what does that sound like to you? Yeah, it sounds like what's going to happen at the end of May, in 1 month. So we could be looking at the fulfillment of this almost immediately. In 1 month, the world will vote on the proposed World Health Organization Pandemic Preparedness Treaty. I'm just going to call it the PPT, and the International Health Regulations Amendments. They're two different things, but I bet you've only heard of one of them. The treaty is the front door, and the IHR, or the amendments, are the back door. So the globalists have built a front door, and they built a back door. So the citizens of the so-called Western democracies will keep their eyes peeled only for the front door. Now, being a Christian, and being one who believes the Bible tells us what will happen, not what may happen, I'm assured that a world power will arise before the rise of the Antichrist that's going to rule over the kings of the world. It will be controlled by merchants who come to power through healthcare and through pharmaceuticals. That's what the Bible tells us is going to happen. So is that time right now? Well, we know that the World Health Organization receives 84% of its funding from commercial sources. And Bill Gates happens to be the world's leading donor of the WHO. Sounds like merchants already control the WHO. And if it takes power, they take power. Isn't that what it sounds like to you? Are these the people you want to decide whether you're locked down? What medicines you can take, or what medicines you're forced to take, or what you're allowed to say about these things publicly? Because all these powers may and probably will be granted to the World Health Organization. And if everyone has their eyes on the front door, the Pandemic Preparedness Treaty, they can be distracted from the back door. How might that work? Here's a brief clip of a European politician saying why he doesn't fear the PPT.
Well, I've read the report, and I think it's the treaty, and I've read various diatribes on it, and basically they're saying it's a voluntary treaty, which is in draft form. There are a number of things it says about not interfering with sovereignty. In fact, the very first line of it reaffirms the principle of sovereignty of state parties in addressing public health matters. I mean, that's what it says there. And dealing with the other points, and there is nowhere in there which talks about lockdowns, closures, contact tracing, or online speech, and so on and so forth. As I say, so looking at a 32-page document, I think we need to say, well, what does it actually say, rather than what we think it might say?
So this is such a clever plan. Make the PPT safe and accessible to everyone, something no one should fear. You see, then you can come in the back door with something that isn't safe. People have come to believe that freedom and democracy is a right, an entitlement, and not something you could lose in a week or even a day. But if the thief came in the front door, people might rise up and resist him. But if the thief comes in the back door, they aren't even aware it's happening. Well, then it's too late, isn't it? The front door is the distraction, the decoy, while the back door is the actual point of entry. Now, if the treaty or the amendments pass in a couple weeks, what were once recommendations by the World Health Organization about your health care and freedom won't just be recommendations anymore. If this is passed, it's going to become mandatory obligations, and they will have the power to actually proclaim what is or what is not a health emergency. They're even talking about climate change as being a possible health emergency. Maybe there could even be some kind of mental health emergency declared regarding LGBTQ. I mean, who knows what they're going to do? Whether your country needs to close its borders is one of their decisions. What type of medications, tests that you can use or must use. They will also require all our member states to give up and catch this, it's important, 5% of their total healthcare spending to fund this bureaucracy and the UN peacekeepers that will be assigned to the nations to enforce it. 5% of all healthcare spending in the world is huge, a huge amount of money. It's approximately $5 trillion, which is 8 times the amount spent on the U.S. military. Think about that. How will all those young military-age men streaming across the borders of all our nations be used? Might they be recruited into this army of peacekeepers? Maybe. So, there is a treaty, and there are these amendments, which if passed are going to have teeth. Now, the international health regulations are already in existence. This is key. They have been for decades. They don't need to be passed by your so-called Western democracies. They have already passed them. So if these amendments pass, your nation doesn't get to vote on them. In most nations, the leader, be that president or prime minister, can just sign off on them. It's not a treaty. That's what makes the treaty more of a diversion or a distraction, to make us watch the front door and think we have a way of avoiding it, while the dangerous stuff slips in the back door. See how crafty this plan is? These guys are smart. And in your nation, there's probably already legislation in place on how it will be implemented. Remember Revelation 18:23, the businessmen will become the great ones of the earth by deceiving the Gentile nations with health care. It's going to happen. The only question is it going to happen right now? And once these regulations are in place, it only takes the WHO declaring a health emergency, which, like we said, could be climate change, not even a disease, to turn on all these new powers, just like flipping a switch. Now, what we've discussed today is a fraction, a minute fraction of what I want to share with you. But I'm limited on what I can say on this platform. So, with so little time left before our freedoms are taken away and the powers of the globalists are flipped on, my ministry, Last Days Overcomers, and I want to do something about all these challenges, like the WHO, that believers are facing. So we thought about this, prayed about it, and we decided the very best way to share this information with you is on a secure platform where we can say anything we want to say. On our own platform, and that's not Rumble or other places where you think you'll be safe, but you really won't be. So we have scheduled what we call Return of Jesus watch parties, kind of like a big underground church meeting, but on our online secure platform. And for each party, we're inviting world-renowned experts to share their expertise with you in an environment where they can say anything they want, and where you can ask whatever questions you want, all for free, and only an hour long. It won't take up your whole day, but you owe it to yourself and your family and church to attend. And our first watch party is on this exact subject matter, the WHO power grab. We are holding this watch party on Saturday, June 8th at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, after the voting has already taken place and we know for sure or not whether this all has passed and how much of it has passed. Our guest for the first session is Dr. Katarina Lindley, a physician and leader of the Global Health Project, probably the leading voice against globalist health, maybe in the whole world. And she will answer your questions and ours about what comes next, what exactly these amendments say, and what we as believers should do to prepare ourselves for what's coming. So the watch party's free. We got that. World leading expert is going to be on. Got that. It's a censorship environment where neither Dr. Lindley or I are going to be guarding what we say, and you get to ask questions. What's the catch? Well, the Nelson Walters channel, videos that we put out can get up to like 350,000 views each. And I think this watch party might get a huge attendance. Can you imagine how chaotic the chat would be where people get to ask questions? You think your question has a chance with 350,000 other people? No. So we made a strategic decision to limit attendance to the first 1,000 attendees. Down in the description below this video will be a link to the registration for this event. You can sign up, and you will be sent a link that's your free ticket to the event. And like we said, it's free. We ask only 3 things. 1, that you be respectful of the teacher and others. For a believer, that should be what you're doing anyway. 2nd, that you register. And if you do, you actually attend. Because otherwise, you're taking a seat from someone else who might want to attend. And finally, that you prepare in advance by writing down a question or 2 so that others can benefit from your preparation. So like you're ready, right? This is an important thing. But I bet you got a question already. Bet you're saying to yourself, how is all this related to that disease X that the World Health Organization has already been talking about? Well, click right here to keep watching and discover that the Bible already talks about disease X. And we're also going to talk about how Bill Gates is intimately involved in this and why he's involved. Till then, this is Nelson, and I'll see you there.